certain percentage of parents are not engaged in their children's education. Parents of children with special needs are really involved because they have to be.
A lot of them are not comfortable with advocating for their children or knowing that they can because they do get backlash. That's why, the power of yet is so impactful, is that it's not just about you. Everyone can learn from somebody's story.
This doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious.
I don't care what a critic got to say, I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and
Just
run
a
it all back.
motherfucking
I'm the
jump.
new era, about to
Just
snap
go.
back. You ain't fitting for
Let's fucking go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy, and I'm not the only one here today. We're actually getting to do an interview today that I hope you all will enjoy as much as I do. I love learning, and we have a great guest with us today. Nikki Boles joins us. She is the author of The Power of Yet that was just released. She is a disability advocate, founder and CEO of MEC Disabilities and Empower by Nikki. She's been traveling, speaking around. She's been doing a lot of traveling. If you check her out on social media, which you can find her too, and just super excited. So a pleasure to have you here, Nikki. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, I'm just getting to know you, the audience obviously as well. How about a quick snapshot of, who you are and what drives your passion? Because that really did stick out to me right away and made me want to talk to you is your passion for what you do. That comes across clearly.
Yeah, of course. So, my 7-year-old daughter has cerebral palsy. And so during COVID, when everything was closed down, it was really hard just getting equipment and not being able to have, I guess, like what she needed. And I found out it was happening for kids across the like nation. And I was like, well, if it's something that's not just in our area, something needs to be done about it. So I started the national nonprofit, and it stands for Motivate, Elevate, and Celebrate. And we just help kids across the nation, 21 and under. So it kind of bridges that gap for insurance. Yeah. So it gets kind of expanded from there.
What are your goals for that? That's seems like such a huge project to take on.
Oh, it's a pretty big project, but I absolutely love it. It's definitely something that is close to my heart. But yeah, just helping all the denials for insurance. So we do insurance advocacy and we help get equipment that's denied. And then we also help with IEP advocacy. And then we've been going around helping schools become more inclusive. So yeah, I'm hoping that the program that I've developed, kind of with Temple Grandin, we've kind of gone back and forth
Hmm.
to try to develop something that helps all children so it could be more inclusive.
That is just awesome because I can say for one, the moment my daughter was born, and I am a girl dad. I only have one, and she meant and means the world to me. But from the probably while she was still in the womb, education and her being around, like the town I grew up in was 2,200 people. We were not diverse at all. Like there was not diversity. That was not nobody even knew what the word was at the time. But my daughter, from the time that she was in first grade, the school she went to, a private school, there were 40 kids from 40 different nations that were represented at that school. So there was no better educational opportunity or a place where you're going to meet people of all types anywhere in the city. So that was super, super important to me. And it's, obviously something that's important to you. I gotta say, what really caught my attention too was the phrase and the title, "The Power of Yet," because it seems so hopeful. And I am a person who believes in, putting the positive out there, getting the positive back, and focusing on that kind of stuff. Um, the Secret. I'm a big advocate of The Secret.
Yeah.
So I can imagine, usually once you've seen The Secret or read the book, you can pick out other people who know The Secret. They're pretty easy to spot.
Right.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So, give me a quick teaser maybe of, what that means to you, the power of yet, before we dive in a little deeper.
So the power of yet is a concept that just kind of gives someone hope. And so, like in the special needs community, it's a very well known term. So, like with my daughter, like she's not walking independently yet. And that's like the really big factor because we're all told that like our children can't do things, especially from like specialists or providers. And that's like the biggest, gosh, like weight on all of us parents.
Hmm.
And so I talked to like Department of Human Services, Department of Education, different, like educational institutions on the power of yet and trying to incorporate inclusion to their schools. So my concept behind the power of yet is yield, engage, and transform. So you always have to like pause and really like bring in where you're at and what you need to do to get to the next step. And then you go and engage, and then that'll help you transform.
What did you find when you first started looking into it? And obviously, because you're so close to this, because of your own daughter, that you immediately saw that there are holes out there and needs that weren't being met. What popped up to you right away that's like that, you wouldn't know unless you're dealing with it firsthand like you are?
So from an equipment standpoint,
For equipment,
she had to walk.
just what the system lacks in being able to, obviously your goal is to help these schools understand and make inclusivity a priority. And so it wasn't a priority. What was missing right away? Was it just equipment on the equipment side, or how were they
So,
failing?
so I started just on the playground aspect,
Okay.
and then when Evelyn went to kindergarten, she wasn't able to go to the bathroom, which is a basic necessity. And there was no handicap bathroom. And I went to the senator about it, and he had said, well, all the schools are on federal land. So which isn't true, but it was said in front of everyone at the town hall. So I could repeat it because it was all recorded. Um, but yeah, so that was a big thing for me. Um, I got accused of school shopping from the district, all because of accessibility. And I had to go really hard. And then they wouldn't let her go to the bathroom when she needed to. And so I ended up pulling her and put her in a charter school. And I've just been fighting for everything on the side.
That's interesting. So this, so like almost by necessity too, um, you're an advocate of school choice.
Hmm.
That's huge for me, and that's one of the things living in Arizona now, that here there is more school choice here and charter schools than anywhere else in the country. And obviously, people can point to some failures of some schools, but it's no different than failures of public schools, as far as I can tell. And like, compete. Let's see how things work out. Let them compete for you. And
Right.
why wouldn't you shop? Why is that? Wouldn't that be okay
Well,
for you to
all
shop
comes down to
schools?
the funding. So a basic student, a general education student on average is about 11 to 12,000 a
Hmm.
child.
Right.
Well, special education students go up to 22,000. And so, like with our program, we can cut it back at least 5% the first year. And so it could help make up where they're lacking. So they're just kind of fudging numbers when they go and report back to the state. And so that's where it's kind of, we've seen the biggest impact because they don't let children use assisted communication devices. They're like not able, like they wanted my daughter to be in a special education class for her to go to the bathroom. And I was like, I'm not going to have her be put behind
Right.
because she needs to use the bathroom.
That's just it, and that you have to fight for that. That's
Yeah.
what is crazy because it just seems so basic
No, it
that
is. And it's a basic
right. I
necessity.
mean, this is like I don't know what are they're using the words now 80-20 and sometimes 90-10. This is like a 98-2 issue. Like, how
Yeah.
can you not? Everybody's going to be on your side because it just makes sense for that. That's crazy. Um, so diving into the book's theme, overall, I'm just will tell people I love to read. I don't have the book yet, so I haven't read the book. I'm not going to pretend I've read the book. Um, what am I going to get? Who's your target audience here?
My target audience is anyone who just needs to either believe in what they're doing or really hone in on what they want to do. And I'm going to be coming out with journals that is for teenagers, parents with children with special needs, and then for executive CEOs and anyone in between.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So, key messages. Let's maybe take a couple of the central keys that you just kind of touched on, and
Mhm.
go just a little deeper into that.
Yeah. So the key message is you're not behind, you're becoming, and you have to be okay with where you are right now because doors aren't going to open for you if you're not ready for them to be open.
I've always kind of believed that being grateful for where you are, but it's okay to want more. And
Right?
my own personal story is I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for over 16 years, but during that time, after a very good, well, successful investment career, that I lost everything and had to start completely over in my mid 40s, and nobody wants to start completely over from scratch. But I did. And, that I just didn't give myself any choice other than to just keep going because it was like, what was the alternative to that? So that's kind of when I got into the uh, power of of the secret and attracting things into your life. And but I did find that there were times that until I was grateful, like I had to be grateful for a car that only worked about 2 weeks out of the month, but all
Right?
that time I had kept trying to get a new car or a different car, and it would get close to the finish line where I was going to get it and get the paperwork signed, and then it would fall through. And it wasn't until I kind of gave up and just said, I just need to be grateful that God gives me this car that works half the time, that all of a sudden out of nowhere, the opportunity to get a car happened and the deal closed.
Right?
Just like that. So,
I was like, literally the same thing kind of just happened to
yeah.
me.
Yeah. Tell me.
I was literally finalizing on a new house, and I'm at the very end stages, and I had told the bank like everything that was happening in life. And they were like, "Oh, it's no problem at all." So I was like, "Oh, I got this." And, right as we're like underwriting everything, they're like, "We can't accept your last year of income." And I was like, "Are you serious?" So it fell through, and I was like, "You know what? Maybe it just wasn't meant to be." Like there was other things that like were popping up that I was like we could move past this, like with
Right.
inspection stuff and different things. And then I ended up going to New Jersey for the heroic core, public speaking course, and I ended up I ended up signing up for the program,
Hmm.
for their grad program, and that night, I found out that I got an extension for Colorado, and then I paid for the program a couple days later, and I ended up getting another grant, and I was like, "Okay, like, it's all falling into place, like, it was definitely, like, meant to be," and, I didn't have to put all the money out on the down payment, so I was like, "Okay, like, this was definitely the road I needed to go," and maybe, just having a rental or something in Denver is kinda like the direction I need to go, and just go back and forth.
And our timing, God has his own timing,
It
and
does,
ours
yeah.
doesn't. We just have to accept it and do the best with that. But again, gratitude, like that was so much a part of it for me for my sobriety as well, and just being grateful and trying to find the people who seem to be miserable. I find that they're not grateful for anything, even though they should be, and maybe focusing on that. So, like gratitude, is that a part of that for you as well?
Yeah, so that's, like, the one thing that I really had to be okay with, is just gratitude in my position where I am, and that's how I just keep growing because you have to be grateful, because you're not going to be grateful, like, if you're 10 steps ahead and you're wanting to get there, you have to be grateful for the whole process.
Yeah, that really connects well with your yet.
Mhm.
Gratitude and yet. That's awesome. So big inspiration. I mean, you know, I don't know. I love to read, but I can't say that I've ever been inspired, even though I think I have some stories. I think we all have a story, but to actually write a book, what was your inspiration to take action and write the book?
So, there was a book I read, and it was The Boy Who Could Run But Not Walk, and it was by Karen Pape.
Mhm.
Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name right. But it's on neurological conditions and including like cerebral palsy. And I was like, if I did not read this book, I would not have known how Evelyn got CP. And it's like, like a lot of people have access to books, and a lot more people.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people who would rather read than watch things or listen to things, and everyone learns differently, obviously. But that's kind of like how like I started doing the podcast and just bringing in different people like across backgrounds. So like pediatricians, people that are on like the Miss Wheelchair Oregon, and just different things like that that are bringing different aspects.
What's one story or example in the book that really speaks to the core of your message that you're trying to get across with the power of yet? Is there one that you can share with us?
So one of the stories has to do with an educator, and she was able to bring the concept into the classroom. And there's a psychologist who actually talks on the power of yet towards education. But she was able to bring it to her colleagues, and they were able to uplift a whole classroom as well as the parents. And that was from a special education point. So it was pretty like impactful just for the school as a whole. But when they got to see it for the kids, they were able to actually do schoolwork and be a part of the classroom. And it, it was to where like the teachers and the parents were okay with helping each other.
It just kind of came to me. One of the complaints that teachers often have is that a certain percentage of parents are not engaged in their children's education. They don't come to the meetings or anything like that. And it would almost seem to me, I could be wrong, and you can tell me, but parents of children with special needs are really involved, because they have to be.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sure there's maybe an example. I mean, you have bad
I
parents,
would say
bad
that
people out of there, but on whole, they're more you're more involved in the education and what they're getting.
yeah. And so I would say they're a lot more involved, but a lot of them are not comfortable with advocating for their children or knowing that they can, because you can do it on an IEP or 504, but you can go beyond that and advocate at a school level, at a district level, state level, and that's where parents are hesitant because they don't want to rock the boat with the teachers or the schools, because they do get backlash, or at least most of the time they do if they don't have a
Hmm.
good support system.
Yeah, well, it seems to me the boat is going to be rocked.
Oh, it
There's no
will.
doubt about it. The boat is going to be rocked, whether you're
Mhm.
only advocating for your own child or for all the children. The boat is going to be rocked, and well, I'll just say it. I like a little confrontation now and then, so I'm one of those people that don't mind being there and leading a group in that kind of case. So, and obviously, you found a way to do the same yourself. So, and I wouldn't doubt that from knowing your father. So,
Right.
there was nothing that was
I was
gonna
like,
hold you
honestly,
back.
I had to build myself up, especially like to really like putting my foot down, because they like to walk all over you, like at like every level.
Did that surprise you at first that you would encounter that much resistance?
I would say federally and state-wise,
Mhm,
yes, but not locally, especially since we are in a rural community.
mhm.
Everyone kind of knows each other, that you wouldn't think that you'd get that much backlash. Um, but it was pretty intense,
Hmm.
especially for being a smaller community. But
Well,
hopefully it gets better.
hopefully it gets better, and well, you're going to keep at it and making sure that it does, because your journey and story isn't finished yet, for sure. Um, is there anything else that we haven't like really touched on right with that in regards to the book that you hope people take away that I haven't asked?
I just hope that people take away that you always have an opportunity. It might look different than other people's, but if there's something that you put your mind to, it just hasn't happened yet. You like just really need to show that you can do it. Like, manifestation is real. A vision board is real. I do vision boards with
I love
my teen
that.
classes. And I'm like, this is what you need to do. If this is the life you want, you need to start envisioning it now, because that's what you have to do. Like for me, I get asked a lot, like, how do you not get burned out? Well, because it's my passion and I love it. Like, of course, like that's why I don't get burned out, because I love to do it. And when you see like the kids smile and they're able to actually do sports with their friends, even if it's adaptive, they're able to play on playgrounds because we've helped get the ground installed that's accessible. And it's a very good feeling inside, um, not just on the aspect of like making a difference,
Mhm.
but on the whole other side, where it's not going to help just that child, it's going to help their family, it's going to help the community. It trickles down until it just goes to everyone. And that's why, the power of yet is so impactful, not just for me, but for everyone, is that it's not just about you. It's about everyone else that's around you. Everyone can learn from somebody's story. Like, there's always a story that somebody needed to hear. And that's really why, like, with Karen Pape's book, I was like, I need to really focus, get this done, um, and just kind of switch it and just make sure that anyone who needs to hear it can hear it.
Well, I can say it certainly helped me already today, and because my friend and partner in this podcast, Leo, and I talk about this, and and doing this podcast. I did radio years ago, 4 hours every morning, 5 days a week, and um, starting a podcast from scratch when you're not a well-known name is very, very hard.
Mhm.
And it takes, I mean, even the most successful people in this area, um, it took them 5, 6 years to really see success. And we're a year in, but we can say now, and we will, we're gonna take your line. We're not big, we're not a big podcast yet. So we're
Mhm.
just gonna go with that. We need to make a t-shirt. All right, Leo,
Right?
we need to make a t-shirt. So and I can put we'll give you credit for it on there for the quote on the t-shirt. But I like that. I really honestly do. Now tell me more about the um the MEC disabilities and the advocacy you do. What's the mission with the MEC? Um how long have you been doing that?
So I opened it in 2021 at the tail end of COVID, and it's just to motivate, elevate, and celebrate people with disabilities and children with disabilities. So we want to create an equal opportunity for children and people with disabilities to learn, grow, and play.
With what you were describing earlier, with the struggles in dealing with people in positions of power, people
Authority.
with authority,
Yeah.
yeah, and dealing with that, uh, and you've kind of had to work your, as you described it, work your way. You just weren't, I don't know, born with a big mouth or being pushy or being you've worked yourself into that. How does that's had to help you, I would imagine, become also a good CEO and a good leader of your organization. That has to kind of go hand in hand a little bit.
It does, and that's kind of gets what brought up in, like, the power of yet, is, like, not to be scared of a no. And I'm really good with writing, and I'm getting better at speaking and public speaking, presenting my information and everything on that side. But it's really not being afraid of a no. And so, like, I'll push and push and push until I get a yes. I'm very persistent. Um, but yeah, so I just go and email, call until I get a response. And if it's a no, it's fine. I'll go to someone else. And that's kind of just how
Mhm.
I've been working with the government officials. And like, I just went to DC
Yeah.
Memorial Weekend, and that was pretty big for me. But just like showing what needs to happen and being told like I have to wait until the education system or like Department of Education gets fixed, which will probably be within the next year when it'll be done.
Mhm.
But then presenting the program to bring to schools. So yeah, just don't be afraid of a no. That's kind of what got me past that and got my confidence up. But just getting those no's, I was like, nope, I have to keep going. And that's what like just the persistence behind it. That's really what got me to be able to do the confrontations and, like really push why. Because I'm not just fighting for Evelyn. I'm not just fighting for a teacher. I'm not fighting for a family. I'm fighting for everyone now and in the future to help those in the past.
That's good. So besides, the things you've gotten resolved and you've accomplished because it directly affected Evelyn, is there a success story from MEC that you could share about the real world impact of your advocacy for others or in another area?
Yeah. So one of our biggest things with MEC is that insurance companies will do denials. And so we will call and do the insurance advocacy. And so there's this family who needed the next size up in a shower chair for their child. So this is like one of our,
Mhm.
it wasn't a lot of money. It didn't take a lot of time. um, but it was just the next size up. He had a trach, a feeding tube, and he had to have chest support. And I'm like, okay, guys, you haven't approved or denied. And their CLCM, like another company, couldn't help with it because it hasn't been denied. And like we would prefer a denial letter, but with this case, like just going back and forth, I was like, no. And so we're partnered with Lecky, Rifton, and multiple other companies. But like a lot of the equipment is from overseas for adaptive equipment. And so I called and I was like, okay, I need this size sour chair. And they got it all ordered for me. I got, the wholesale nonprofit pricing. And for our price, it was like just over $600. And that's like what we had issues with Evelyn's walker. If we paid cash, we would have just got it,
Hmm.
and it took almost a year to get through insurance. But their shower chair, if they would have just paid out of pocket, is about $900. Well, there's companies that I won't name because like one of the biggest ones, um, but they were going to charge $2,300 for the
Wow.
shower chair, and that's why it hadn't been denied or approved because of the markup was just being so high. And so we are working on getting our Medicare and Medicaid. We have our NPI number for getting equipment. So we're working on that right now so we can be the provider because we don't upcharge. We just do like the fee to just push the paperwork. Um, but yeah, so it's we got it for them. It was a couple of weeks and they were able to take him to the beach. He was taken to the pool and just to put his feet in. And we have like pictures up on our social media of that. But it's like, like a $800-900 piece of equipment and it got to like didn't get approved or denied. And it's like he needs to bathe. And he was like they sent him like little toys. They sent him the outdoor legs to go to the beach. So it's a great it's a great thing.
That's a great story. I love that. Um, so kind of moving on just a little bit, if I understand it correctly, is the Empower by Nikki, is that your business as a speaker and coach?
Yeah, so I started inclusive business development at the end of last year. And so we help do ADA compliancy and business development, but we specialize in the ADA compliancy as well as what's new and upcoming or that's coming up. Just because of our connections through the nonprofit, we know what's going to be put into law for accessibility. So, like when they're building new buildings, we can go and help them, or if they're remodeling, just so they can be up and ahead, which will save them money, save them on
Mhm.
liability, all across the board. So every business that we get signed on, we go and help a school of their choice or a school that's on our list for free. So we help do their inclusion initiative, get whatever equipment that they need, just to make it a little bit easier on the teachers and the students. And so my speaking is under that as Empowered by Nikki.
When did you realize you were in this whole thing as you started on this journey that you were also going to be a speaker?
I did not. I did a lot of. I'm very good at like saying my case and going in front of people and telling them statistics and that kind of thing. But actually, I really like just empowering people and making sure that they could like do what they want to do and know that they're capable, even if they don't think they are. They are. Um, it's just the fact of helping them get to the point to be okay with themselves to do it or to like take that next step or to believe that their child can walk or their child might be able to talk one day. Like, we've had a lot of families that have came to us and they're like, they the doctor told me I should have aborted and here we are, but now I'm struggling. And so that's why I'm very on the back end and I do all the equipment applications myself. So people like send in pictures, stories, videos. And if I have to, I share it with different companies in their area, and they help sponsor it if we don't have like the funding or anything. Some of the equipment items are pretty big.
Let me ask you. So some people, when you have a lot on your plate, and it would be a lot without being a parent of a special needs child, and then you put that in there together. There are people that like to talk about in the midst of success about there somehow being balance. But I've personally found that people who are successful at whatever their passion is, there is no balance.
There is no doubt. I
they're
thrive in
100%
chaos.
okay. That's great. Yeah, tell me about that. Yes.
Right? No, honestly, just between appointments and I just kind of go with the flow. I work when I can. I don't take away time from Evelyn. So normally, like, I'll work in the mornings and then the rest of the days for her. I've taken her on trips with me. She went to Denver with me for spring break, and she actually
Nice.
got to help me go to the schools, and we got to deliver equipment, and we went to the Rapids, and they have a wheelchair and amputee league. So we're kind of working with them on that. But like she's been able to be a part of it, which is the big thing. She's been able to meet other children that are like her. Um, it's made her grateful in a lot of ways. And I think that that's like the biggest impact on just knowing I can do this with her or while she's at school or while she's like doing something, um, while also helping kids like her and families like ours.
For someone like me, okay, how can someone like me who's interested and for me, I believe we all have the same purpose, which is to serve others. People say I'm looking
Mhm.
for my purpose. Here, let me tell you what God's purpose for you is: to serve others. Now, I believe what's different is not the purpose. What's different is the mission. We all have a different mission and how we're going to accomplish that purpose of serving others. But how could I be a better ally? How can other people also be advocates for people with disabilities? It's, to be honest, we don't mean for it to be, but it's not at the top of our list because we're not dealing with it like you do in your day-to-day life.
Right. Well, I think like the biggest things are just treating them like anyone else. Like it doesn't matter if they're in a wheelchair or if they use an AAC device, um, or no matter like what they look like. Skin color doesn't matter. Like
Mhm.
everyone's a person, and that's kind of how we need to treat it. Like you talk to them just like anyone else, and a lot of the times if they need help or they don't communicate, they have someone with them. But that is the biggest thing for us parents. Like one thing that like stuck in my mind that Evelyn was 3 and we were at wildlife safari in Winston, and this lady was like looking at her and she's like, "Mom, why are they looking at me and not talking to me?" And that was like, ugh! Like it just hit me so hard because like as a parent, you're like, I didn't know that she noticed. Like I
Mhm.
noticed, but that was the turning point where I was like, okay, like that's what I really need to like focus on. And so we've been doing like a lot of videos on TikTok and things like that. Um, but like when people with autism or children with autism are traveling or at the grocery store, people will stare or they'll make comments. And it doesn't just affect the child or the person, it affects who they're with. And they're already embarrassed as it is. And putting that on top of it is making it so much harder to where they're unable to like speak up for them or they'll end up walking out and not go back to the store for a while. Just like people's reactions. Um, like basic, just ignore it. Like you don't have to stare. You don't have to like, make a comment about it. I know when I like flew my daughter to Hawaii and back, this lady's I had to carry her to the bathroom because she just didn't walk. And she's like, "Aren't you too old to be held?" And I was like, "She doesn't walk, so I'm not gonna have her crawl down to go to the bathroom." Like, and she was a stewardess, and I was just like, "Okay." I'm gonna be doing this a couple more times, but I'm gonna be holding her still.
Yeah. That's
Like, comments don't need to be made. It
like
just ignore it if you don't wanna say anything or if you don't
wow.
wanna help. And some people don't like the help. Like, if I see
Mhm.
somebody and they're, like, having to struggle with their wheelchair or whatever, I'll be like, "Oh, honey, let me get that for you." And I'll, like, help them or something like that. But a lot of times if you make it, like, fun and interacting and not, like, you're judging them, that makes a world of difference. Like, we opened the first
Absolutely.
completely free sensory space in 2023, and it's been incredible. Like, we've had moms come in here and they're, like, crying because they don't feel, like, accepted anywhere else, and it's like, "No, like, it's okay." Like, like, that's how you need to be okay with it, is just keep doing it until you're comfortable
Mhm.
or until you can ignore, and which is a bad thing on a bad position that, like, parents have to be in, but at the same time, it's not gonna get any easier, it's not gonna get harder. You're right there. Like, just keep doing it, just keep trying it. Um, yeah, it's just kind of impactful just how people react. That'd be the biggest thing,
Yeah, and we need to just tell them, "Try not to be stupid." How about that?
right?
Like, I mean, good lord, that's like you would be doing that for some other reason. Unbelievable. So what's next for you, Nikki? Is there gonna be another book due? Did you like doing the book? What's the next big project for you?
So I love doing this book because it goes with my keynote, and then I get to do journals for everyone. But I've worked on a book for the last 3 years, and it's called 87, and it's about it's the percentage rate of divorce and separation in special needs families. And it really backs behind the isolation that we put ourselves in. And, it goes from the MEC standpoint, my standpoint, and other families that I work with. It makes it hard, especially when, you have community members that look down on you and you can't do things. Um, Family members don't understand. And a lot of people just don't get it unless they're in it. And it's
Mhm.
not, saying that they're not willing to learn, but you're not giving them the tools or the time to learn it. So it's just creating that self isolation to where it's putting that hardship on relationships, and you don't have time for yourselves. You don't have time to grow that relationship or nurture it, and they end up, ending kind of like kind
Sure.
of like mine
Yeah.
did. But like, you have one parent that does everything, like the caregiving, being a parent, like the teacher, the physical therapist, like you're everything. And then you have one that either works because normally you can't work and take care of your child. And like I couldn't work because she wasn't able to go to any daycares or any facilities because they weren't accessible, and she was diagnosed. And a lot of people are afraid of the diagnosis. Don't be. It helps in the long run.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so the book just kind of entails all of that, and just creating a space for parents and family members to know the stance and why it's so important to create either a community for yourself or be surrounded by people who do support you, um, and just build and nurture those relationships, because you are going to need help. Like, you can't do everything on your own.
Mhm.
And that's the hardest thing, is that there are people that ask for help, and a lot of people don't get it. And that's, where we have like a lot of suicides. There's a lot of um there was I posted it. It's been a while now. But she ended up um there was an incident that her son is no longer with us and she's no longer with us. Like,
Oh,
that happens a lot. And that's kind of what I've been working on the last 3 years, is that people need to know the parent side and the side of a supporter and the side of a community. So that one's
well,
the one that was like closest and dearest to my heart.
yeah.
Um, and I didn't want that to be overshadowed with my keynotes and everything. So that's why I'm waiting till the fall to release that. So
Well, this has certainly been wonderful for me, insightful. I've absolutely enjoyed this. And, anytime there are other announcements or things, we'd be glad to have you back on as well. And then again, maybe for the next book. But what about social media, ways people can contact you, the foundation, if they want to contribute some way? What are all the different ways we can get involved
yeah, so
or hook
all
up
of
with
our
you?
links, yeah, so all of our links are at mecdisabilities.org for our nonprofit, and then empowerbynikki.com. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that
That's
has the link
great.
for the book and it has the link for the keynotes,
And then you said you have a
one-on-one
podcast. Is
coaching.
that on YouTube as well?
It is on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
YouTube and Spotify under Empowered by Nikki.
There you go. Nikki Boles, thank you so much for joining us today. You have a wonderful story. You are an absolutely beautiful person. And I just love your dad as well. And glad that we could get together like this. It really means a lot to me too, because this is the kind of stuff I want to be able to do. I want to be able to talk to people that are doing things and making a difference. And, they're not, everybody wants a big star guest that's a
Right.
household name. Well, you're an all-star too. You're doing the work, and it's absolutely amazing. And just glad I could, touch and share with others the great work you're doing. Thanks for being on the Outlaw Apostle
Yeah.
Podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Whoa. Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new